welcome to Wednesday's edition of Cracking a Cryptic. And yes, you could probably tell, hopefully by my tanned colour, that I am back from a short holiday. Mark and I were in Portugal this last week, and we took pictures like this one, which is startling. This is the sun at sort of 7 or 8 o'clock at night, being illuminated itself by wildfires burning on the Portuguese landscape. Incredible place. We tweeted a couple of pictures last week, and some of you even were able to identify not just the golf course we were on, but the golf hole we were on, which was incredibly impressive. So well done for that, and we're sorry we were away. We hope that you enjoyed the videos in the meantime, even though we had some bad hiccups. So on one day we released 2 videos at the same time, and that was my fault. Is because we had a late birthday request, and I tried to do a video really quickly to give a shout out to someone's birthday, then forgotten that I did that video, so I released another of my backup videos on the same day at the same time. That was a complete shank. I'm so sorry about that. It even then turned out that the puzzle I'd solved in that video was one that Mark had already solved on the channel, so it was just a complete mess. But you were kind to us about that. Now, what I deserved much less kindness about was yesterday's hiccup, which was, well, it's the first time I think in my entire history on this channel of finishing a puzzle incorrectly. And this, I'm so sorry, Florian, about this. This is Florian Wortmann's brilliant puzzle, Knights and Archers Hold the Line. Now, I solved this originally back in February. That's when I recorded that video. And what I did not realise at all, and many of you realised, was in this position, I was trying to think about the positions of greens, and for some reason I concluded green could not go in this cell. I think because I saw the arrow, and I've been focusing on 3-cell arrows, and I knew that green, being a 7 or an 8, couldn't go on a 3-cell arrow. Somehow thought this was a 3-cell arrow, therefore said green couldn't go here. In fact, green does end up going there in the correct solution, and bizarrely, if you make green not there, you can solve the whole puzzle from that point. The only thing is this arrow ends up having the wrong total, so that the Sudoku part of it works, but the arrow has the wrong total, and that of course is just awful from my perspective. Normally when you make an error in a puzzle, something goes wrong and you establish there's a problem, and then you can rewind and figure out what the logic was that you should have found. I had no such joy with that yesterday. So then I'm left with the question what I do about this. Now this is actually fairly early on in the solve. So it's not as simple as me just saying, well, make this square green, because you have to figure out the reason that cell's green without bifurcation. So what I think I'm going to have to do is to record a new solve of this puzzle, or at least from this point anyway, because I know many of you like to solve along with the videos, and if there is a logical error, it's of no help to you at all. I totally understand that. So I don't know quite how I'm going to deal with that. I suspect I will not have time at the end of this video, because today's puzzle that I've been recommended to try by none other than Godart. You'll know Godart if you've been with the channel for any amount of time. Godart is an absolute genius setter and a frightfully nice guy as well. And he's recommended a puzzle called Black Rose by Totally Normal Cat. Now, Totally Normal Cat, a bit like Godart, is a puzzle setter who gives me the fear. Totally Normal Cat is undoubtedly a genius in terms of sort of intellectual firepower. And this has got a fascinating rule set. Now, Godart said it's not too bad, so it may be that if I rustle through this in half an hour, we can go back to Florian's puzzle in this video, and I will try and solve it for you. But if not, I will make a separate video, and we'll put that on the channel, and I will address it that way. And I'm just apologies again. What a disaster. Anyway. Now, more things to talk about. I know I've got a lot of birthday shout-outs to catch up on. I've also got to catch up on shouting out the names of those of you who successfully solved Joseph Namath's Sudoku hunt on the last day, which was the first day of my week's holiday. And I'll probably save that for tomorrow, though, because I don't want to clutter up the video too much with me waffling on. And then also, some of you have also managed to solve the Modular Lines Sudoku pack, which we've got. Well, we've got 2 packs actually available on Patreon right now. There's a competition pack and also a sort of basic pack to introduce the concept. And we've had correct entries in for that, and I want to give some kudos to those of you who've got through that as well. So there'll be some shout outs tomorrow, I hope. And let me just talk about some birthdays in the meantime. So I want to say a very happy birthday. Well, no, actually, let's start with an anniversary. I'll start with an anniversary. Danny from Kansas, who's 18, got in touch with us to say that it's, well, it was her 6-month anniversary with boyfriend Alex, and she was out of the country, and sorry about that, and she wanted to apologise to Alex for that. So, Alex, she's sorry. She wrote us a great email. Danny, good luck with your degree, and I hope that the 2 of you are back together. Probably by now, but I'm not sure. Anya, you turned 17 yesterday, I think. I'm sorry I couldn't announce that. I wish I had announced it, because it would have meant I hadn't recorded a duff video. Anyway, I hope you had lots of cake. Bex, you've turned 28 today, and your partner Max wrote us a really lovely email. Amongst the things that Max told us is that Max is partially blind, and that Bex has created sort of oversized versions of our grids in order that they can talk Max through the puzzles, and I thought that was lovely. So Bex, I hope you've had a brilliant day. Dom Thompson, who recently solved his first ever cracking the cryptic puzzle, turned 30 during the solve of that puzzle, which I think is absolutely brilliant. So Dom, I know that was a couple of days ago, I think, so I hope you've had a brilliant time in the meantime, and that your 30th birthday was not just, well, great because you solved your first CTC puzzle. Jess, you turned 16 yesterday, and thank you for the kind email, and we hope your trip to New York went very well. John Wainwright, it's your birthday today, and your wife Lissa let us know this. Mike, you July the 21st, I want to say your birthday was. Your girlfriend Leanne told us about that, and I hope very much you enjoyed the Patreon sub she gave you for your birthday. I'm not sure if that was the only present, but if it was, what a present. Now, Rain Christian, your dad Ray wrote us. It was a really touching email. It's very rare to read anything really like the email that your dad sent us. He is so proud of you. And I know it was your birthday on July the 21st as well. And it really was, a very humbling thing. You're a law student over in Chicago, I think, and I know that you're a musician as well, and you had your first show, I think, was on your birthday, so I hope that went brilliantly. And that's all the announcements, all caught up. So a lot of congratulations, and well-deserved indeed. Now, I can put it off no longer. This might be a two solve video, but we're going to have a look at Black Rose by Totally Normal Cat, an enormously highly rated puzzle I have noted on Logic Masters Germany. These are the rules. Normal Sudoku rules apply. So if you're new to Sudoku, what's that mean? It means you've got to put the numbers 1 to 9 once each in every row, in every column, in every 3x3 box. Normal Yin Yang rules apply. Well, this definitely requires some explanation, but I love Yin Yang puzzles. So what are the rules of this? That is, shade some cells in the grid such that all shaded cells are connected and all unshaded cells are connected. I think that means orthogonally connected. That's what normal Yin Yang rules mean. No 2x2 box may be fully shaded or fully unshaded. So what this means is we've got to sort of colour the grid. Let's make this, let's try and do this in some sort of way that might work. Oops, no, that won't work. Oops, something like, I've got to avoid any 2x2s being left over. It would be a miracle if I can do this. No, this is not going to work, is it? Let me try that instead. Right, so imagine those were the shaded cells. they are all obviously orthogonally connected. All of the white cells, the unshaded cells, I'll make these a different colour so they stick out a bit more, make these green. They are orthogonally connected. I don't think, I might be getting this wrong, but the idea is to make sure that there's no 2x2s in the grid that are entirely one colour. And I don't think there are any 2x2s in the grid that are entirely one colour. And if that's right, this is a valid Yin Yang solution. I very much doubt it's the correct solution to this puzzle, but that is how Yin Yang is meant to work. Now, what are these clues outside the grid? The clues outside the grid give the sum of the first continuous block of shaded cells seen from that direction. So what that's telling us is that, let's say these cells were unshaded, and then this was the first shaded cell in this direction, then the sequence of digits in this direction that were unshaded, so let's say we worked out the colouring was this, then we would be being told that these 4 cells have to sum up to 26. That's how this works. If the shaded cells started here instead, these 5 cells would add up to 26. If there were 2 groups of shaded cells, let's think about that for a moment, although how possible that is in Yin Yang is for debate. Let's imagine that we had that situation, so there are 2 groups of shaded cells in column 1. That's telling us that the 26 is applying to the first sequence seen in that direction. So these are the ones that have to sum to 26, not that one. You can't just put 26 in that cell for many, many reasons. Anyway, that's the rules. Do have a go at the puzzle. The way to play is to click the link under the video. Now I get to play. Let's get cracking. Now, let me start by, if you are new to Yin Yang, there are 2 secrets of Yin Yang that are incredibly, incredibly useful. Those secrets are that in a Yin Yang puzzle, the perimeter of the puzzle can only have two sections, if you like. So imagine these were, we worked out that something like that. Imagine we worked out this. You could then connect these greens together around the perimeter like that. And that's for a very interesting reason, which is, let's imagine you didn't do that. Let's imagine you didn't connect these greens together and you made that cell grey. Here we could instantly say that the puzzle is broken. And the reason is that the rules require the greens and the greys to be in a continuous sequence. So we need to connect this green to this green, and it doesn't matter how we connect these greens together. Let's say it was that shape. This little grey cell here can never connect to its friends anymore, because to do so it would have to go through green, and that's not allowed. So what that means is that as we're thinking about how to build this puzzle up, we've got to be aware of the fact that the perimeter is only in 2 colours. Now I'm just going to explain one other trick of Yin Yang in case it's relevant here, and that is you can never have a checkerboard arrangement in any 2x2 sequence, and that's for the same reason. Again, let's think about how we're going to connect these greens together, and it doesn't matter how we do it, but the moment we do it, we will isolate this grey. It cannot connect to this. So no checkerboards, and only 2 contiguous regions on the perimeter. They are my 2 tips for Yin Yang. Now, my eyes are drawn to this 38 clue because that's telling us that lots of the top row have to be shaded. And the minimum number of shaded cells that we could make add up to 38 would be 6, because if we had 5 cells only, and we made the rest of the cell green, or rest of the cells green, what's the maximum we could put into these 5 cells? Well, it would be 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9, which only add up to 35. So that tells us that in this row, we need at least a 6-cell sequence of grey cells. And however we split this row up into greys and greens, we'll always therefore have to have those as being shaded. Because if any one of these was unshaded, we couldn't create a sequence of 6 greys, which we know we need at least 6 greys in the top row. So we can definitely greyify these. Oh, Maverick, how I've missed you. Now, what does that mean? So, that is actually interesting. The 14 clue, well, that's telling us the first sequence of greys in this column sum to 14. Well, I can't just write 14 into that cell. So that's got to be grey. And now, what are these 2 cells? We can't have a 2 by 2s of greys, so both of those are greens. Okay, well now I'm going to tell you that this cell is grey. And that's because there's a 10 clue here, and I can't write 10 into this cell. So some of these digits here, some of these white cells must be shaded. And it must be at least a 2-cell shading. And any 2-cell shading in this sequence of 3 cells is going to include that one. Right, now we're getting somewhere. This is very clever. Oh, actually, am I wrong? Hang on. No, this is very powerful, I think. There's definitely something going on here around this box. So the question I want to ask is this cell grey? And I think that's a really, I think it's quite an interesting question. Admittedly, I find strange things interesting, but if you're watching the channel to this point, or if this is the first video you ever watched from Cracking the Cryptic, I guess you're already intrigued. So why is this cell, how could this cell be grey? Let's ask that question. If it's grey, we know from the secret I told you earlier, that I've now got to connect these greys together around the perimeter. Now we've got 2 ways of doing that, and this was the way I suddenly worried would work. What about if we went all around here like that? Is that a possible way of connecting this grey to this grey? And the answer is actually no, because if I do this and try and connect these greys around there, what's this got to be now? This 12 clue is at least 2 cells long, so that's got to be grey, and that's a 2 by 2, and that's not going to work. But the reason this is cool is, what about if I go over the top? If I try and connect these to these along the perimeter across the top, I get another 2 by 2 here. So this just does not work at all. This has to be green. Therefore, that's got to be grey, because we know, right. So now, what colour is this? And the answer is not green, because that's a checkerboard. So this has got to be grey, which means this has got to be green, which means this has got to be green, because greens have to connect. There's only one sequence of greens around the edge. Right, so now I guess we use column 1, do we? Because something I can tell you for certain about column 1 is it has greens in it somewhere, because this number is not the secret, it's not 45. If this was 45, the digits 1 to 9 once each sum to 45, that's the secret. So this not being 45 requires there to be some sequence of greys in this column, and then a green digit or 2. So given there are greens in this column, could the greens be above the greys? I suppose that's one way of thinking about it. Could we do that? No, because then I can't connect these greens to these greens without isolating these greys. So the greens in this column must be at the bottom of the column, which requires this cell to be green. And once that cell's green, the whole of that perimeter must therefore connect green to green. Yes, and this can't be grey, because then we'd have to go grey, green, grey, and this green couldn't connect to this green without isolating. So in order to keep continuous sequences going, we get the whole of the bottom row. Now this cell, we must avoid a 2 by 2, so that's grey. Oh no, I was about to write 6 into that cell, but this glue is applying to the grey cells, not the green cells, so we can't do that. but we know that oh no, okay, well we know the 38 is at least 6 cells, so those two have to be grey. But how could this be green now? If this is green, I need to put 26 worth of grey in this column, but the greens will be isolated from one another, so that's grey, and now I need 26 worth of greys coming down here, which is at least 4 cells worth of greys, because 7, 8, and 9 only add up to 24, so I couldn't stop here and make this green. That won't work. Therefore this cell is green to avoid a 2 by 2 of grey. This is super clever. And it's sort of not monstrous yet. Now, what do we do next? We could... I know, something simple. That green has to connect to its friends, so that's got to be green. 15 could just be 2 cells, couldn't it? Okay, now I'm getting stuck. Don't get stuck. Just at the moment I was saying it was not monstrous, suddenly I've got stuck. That's being hoisted by my own petard. Okay. Well, okay, that cell is not grey. Because if it is, I need some sequence here to add up to 12, which would require double grey, and that's creating a 2 by 2. So that cell is green, which means this, I've now got to avoid a 2 by 2 here, so that cell is grey. Oh, and now this simply cannot be grey, because if it was grey, it would have to contain the digit 12, and this is a Sudoku, so it doesn't. So that, right. So now this is interesting, because this sequence has to contain some digits that sum to 7 on the left and some digits that sum to 12 on the right. So does that require this cell to be grey? I think so. If that cell was green, there's nowhere to put a 12 sum that's not going to clash with the 7 sum, so that cell's got to be grey. This could be a 7 on its own. That would make that green. Okay, and then this domino could add up to 12 on its own, so that would require... Oh no, avoid a checkerboard though. Sorry, I can do checkerboard logic. That cell's got to be grey to avoid a checkerboard. And now this green has to get out. Good grief. Okay, so now... No, it's better, I've found, when speaking, to formulate your thoughts before you open your mouth, because otherwise you're at risk of saying absolute gibberish. Okay, right, so that domino... so this domino adds to 15, but this domino adds to 10. So those cells have got to be either 6, 9 or 7, 8. Which means that's a low digit on the other side of a 10 domino. Okay. Now... So this 6 clue here, it could just be a 6 written... Yes, it could just be a 6, and then it would have to turn to get away and form some sort of grey thing coming up the left-hand side, or it could be 3 cells of greynesses if it was a 1, 2, 3 triple, which would give us a 4 there. 4, 6, 9. Okay, so by the secret, yes, because I've managed to work out this is a grey sequence that sums to 38, we know the whole row sums to 45, so that domino sums up to 7. So these 4 cells sum to 17. Oh, but it's these cells that sum to 12, or these 3 cells that sum to 12, so we don't know what these add up to. Okay, now I'm getting stuck. These 13s are very suspicious, aren't they? That sort of makes me think we're going to have a sort of a run of 13 in the middle of this row that applies. So these two clues are actually to the same sequence of grey digits. And we've also got all this. Right. Okay. So we've also got all this stuff along the bottom. Now the thing I'm seeing about these 5 cells is that we certainly have to have some greys in there, because if all of these were green, I'd have all sorts of 2 by 2-age going on, and that won't do. So I've got to have some greys along here, and that's going to mean that some of these clues at least have to sort of go up from this row. Okay. What am I missing here? Probably quite a lot, but I'm not immediately saying what I meant to say. 14 and 15. So this 15 must be at least 2 cells. Oh, but that's not even putting any pressure on this. This green's got to get out through. It can't get out through both of those cells, because that would create a 2 by 2 of green. So exactly one of these 2 cells must be green, and exactly one of them must be grey. Is that important? Maybe. Maybe. I think, yeah, I think there's got to be a 7 in one of those 2 cells, because it's not possible for both of these to be grey, is it? If both of these were grey, we'd have a 2 by 2 of grey. So one of these must just be a lone grey cell with a green cell next to it, which means one of those is a 7. Now, right, these 7s are not applying to the same region. So if that was just a 7 on its own, that would just be a 7 on its own. And that would be green. And that would be grey. Oh, that doesn't work. Right, that doesn't work. Right, okay. Okay, so actually I don't think it matters what this is. I think that the point is this simply cannot be a 7. I don't think. If that's a 7, the problem we've got with that is that it then requires this cell to be green. But the moment this cell is green, we've got 2 competing things going on. We cannot make this cell green, because if we make this cell green, we know this will also have to be a 7, and I'll have 2 7s in column 1. So this can't be green, which means that's got to be grey. But what's this cell got to be? Well, that cell's also got to be grey, because if it's green, we've got a 2 by 2 of green. But by making that grey, we have penned in our greens, and we mustn't pen in any greens. So that tells us that this cell is not 7, which means this cell is 7. So this cell must grow, so that's got to be grey. Yeah, okay, this green doesn't have the same issue of getting out as this green, because this green, look, touches the perimeter. So it is naturally, if you like, touching this cell without me having to extend it at all. Right, but there is still something here. If this cell is grey, there is a problem. Because if this cell is grey, what's this cell? We must avoid a checkerboard, so we've got to make that cell grey, and that's 4 cells that have to add up to 7. Well, that won't work. The minimum 4 cells can add up to is 10. So this cell is green, but not for the reason I first thought. So this is a domino adding to 7. This has got to grow, because this is the 7, so that's got to be grey. Avoid a 2 by 2, that's got to be green. This green has to get out, so that puts all of those in. So, Oh, okay, and now, yeah, and again, all the greys are now connected here, aren't they? So I don't have to worry about, you know, penning this in, for example, because then grey can still escape down column 1. The only thing I've got to avoid is green here and greens here at the same time, because then this grey or this grey couldn't connect. One of these has to be... Yeah, is that the point? So because this grey has to get out, one of these must be grey, but not both of them, because if both of these were grey, we'd have a 2 by 2. So the 13 clue on the right definitely start... Well, it can't start here. It can't start here, because if it started there, it must be at least 2 cells, and that cell would be grey. So that means that cell's definitely green, and now I've got to get the grey out, so that's got to be grey. 13 requires at least 2 cells, so that's got to be grey. Oh, that's got to be grey. Oh, yeah, this is good. That's got to be grey to avoid a 2 by 2, and now, to avoid a checkerboard, that's got to be grey, which means I've got to make that green to avoid a 2 by 2. Now, oh, okay, so now what's going on? Now, no, the green is still, well, all the greens are still perfectly connectable. I've got to make sure I get that green to the edge somehow, and I've got to make this green connect to something. What does that mean? Can I do something with this 6 clue? I'd love to be able to work out that this cell is grey, because that would give me a 1, 2, 3 triple there. If that's green, then this grey has to get out. It has to go, oh, that doesn't, oh, it doesn't work. It doesn't work. Right, this cell is not grey because of the 14 clue. If that's grey, this 14 clue, in order to get this to a count of 14, this is required to be grey, and that creates a sequence of 5 in column 7 that has to add to 14, but the minimum, the triangular number for 5 is 15, 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 plus 5. So that cell here has to be green, and that means that's grey to avoid a 2 by 2, that's grey to get this grey connected, and that's now green. And now I must avoid a checkerboard there, so that cell's green, which means this is grey. 15 requires at least a 2-cell sequence. This is just gorgeous. This is such a clever puzzle. This is all isolated. That's grey that's not connected to anything, so that's got to be grey. Oh no, yes, 13 could be a 4-cell sequence, so I can't greenify this. My hunch that these 2 clues were the same, though, is still... It's not looking like it's broken yet. Oh, well, that's a 6. It's just got to, it's a write-in, because it's just the sum of this. And this is a 1, 2, 3 triple. And that means that cell's a 4, which means that cell's a 6, which means that cell's a 9 to make maths work. These have to add to 15, those have to add to 10, these have to add up to 7. That's a little interesting for this digit, which now has to be a 5 or a 6. Oh, whoopsie, not an orange or a purple, which means this is a 1 or a 2. Can we do any more than that? Probably. Yeah, here's something. Just as we had to be careful with this 14 being a 5-cell sequence, that cell now has to be green, or this would be a 5-cell sequence and need to add up to at least 15. So that is green. Do I now know what this is? Probably. I can't see. I can't see how to do it. Come on, brain. I can see if it's grey, that's got to be grey, but I don't see what's wrong with that. No, all the greens can still connect. Oh, okay, maybe it's this 15 then. So if this 15 stops, So i.e. if this is green, this domino has to add to 15 without using 6, so it would have to be 7, 8. And then these 3 would have to add to 14 without using 7. Oh, that's fine. No, that's easy to do. You can easily make 3 cells add up to 14 without using a 7 or an 8. If this is grey, on the other hand, then we'd have a sequence of 4 cells there that add up to 15, and a sequence of 3 cells there that add up to 14. 15 and 14 is 29, so these would have to be a 7-9 pair to add up to 16 to make the column add up to 45. And that would have to be a 9, and that would have to be a 7. Which, okay, that might be possible, mightn't it? Oh dear. Oh dear, oh dear. Okay. So what do we do now? That is the question. And the answer is, I don't know. Can I do something? No, I can't rule out this being grey, because that could be a solitary 7. Obviously you can't have a 2-cell grey there without creating a 2x2. So what is it I'm meant to be appreciating here? I don't know. Can I somehow rule out this being a 4-cell sequence adding up to 13? I don't think so. I think it's almost likely, and then it will coincide more with this one. 3, 4, 5, 6, 9 in this column has to either be here or here. Don't think there's a restriction on either of those. Okay, so now I'm totally stuck. What is it that I'm missing? Oh, hang on. Yes. Remember we said earlier these two have to add up to 7. Well, they can't be 3, 4, and they can't be 1, 6, so they are 2, 5, and that we actually know the order. So this is a 2, 5 pair, and there's a 1, 2, 3 pair looking at that. So that's 5, that's 2, now that's 6, and that's 1. So now I've got a 7, 8, 9 triple to complete column 8. That's not 9. No, that's just... Right, so 1 has to be in one of these 2 cells. This is not 1 anymore. These 2 cells add up to 13, look, to make sure these 3 cells add up to 14, and they're not. They're not 4, 9, and they're not 6, 7, so they are 5 and 8, which means that's not 8. Is that helpful? Does that mean that this can't be 4? No, it could still be 4 cells. Not if this was an 8, then we couldn't make this a 4-cell 13. If that's a 5, though, these 3 cells could add up to 8 and be 1, 3, 4. Only works in one way, mind you. Oh, where does 2 go in box 6? This 2 here plonks it there. So that's a 2, that's a 1, 3 pair. Is that doing something? Wow, I don't know. So I guess we can pencil mark column 7 now. We need 2, 3, 4 and 7. Oh, no, okay, the simpler question is where does 3 go in column 7? Because there's a 3 in this domino, it can't go there, so that's a 3. And now these cells are known. There are 2, 4, 7. Whoops. Triple, which means that's not 7. And actually, being completely unreasonable, totally normal cat is making us do Sudoku. Get back to the yin yang. No, it's not this domino that adds up to 13. Stop thinking about that. That will be wrong. What about... I mean, I can see 6 is in one of those two cells. I have a feeling there's some way I'm meant to resolve column 8 here, but I can't see what it is. Ah, right. Oh, no. I suddenly got excited about column 5, but I've already thought about that, so that's not exciting. Okay, so what is it then? This adds... Maybe I should just take stock of what clues I've used. Oh, okay, so this domino I've not used. And that's not 3, 4, so this is either 1, 6 or 2, 5. Which is totally useless, isn't it? Good grief. Right, here's something cool. How are we going to make that add up to 12? Which it has to do. Well, it's not 3, 9. Which means it's either got a 7 or an 8 in it. Because it's either got to be 8, 4 or it's got to be 5, 7. Therefore, between this domino here and this cell, there is a 7, 8 pair in row 3, which means that cell's a 1, which means that's not a 1, and it means this is now not 1, 6. So that's 2, 5. It's not doing anything. Oh, no, it is. I'm being unfair. If that's 2, 5, I'm ruling out another option. From this 12, I've ruled out 3, 9. I can now rule out 5, 7. So that's 4, 8, which actually gives us this digit and gives us this digit. Which gives us this digit, gives us this digit. There we go. So now we have got some progress. So now in this column, I need 3, 4, and 7. And in these cells, let's get rid of the 6 highlighting because oh goodness, what's going on there with my mouse? These have got to be 5, 6, and 9. That's not 6. That can't be 7 by Sudoku. And these two digits are now known. They have got to be 4, or no, not 4, 6 and 9. Ah, yeah, okay, so there's a 6 there. So that's 9, that's 6. 9 must be in one of these 3 cells by Sudoku. Can that really be 8? If that's 8, this domino has to add up to 6 without using 4. So it would have to be 5, 1 in a very particular order. 5 here, 1 here. Might be possible. Oh, does this have to extend now to get to 26? If that's, no, if those added up to 12. No, in fact, even if that's a 2, this could be an 8, 9 pair. So ignore me, that's nonsense. Wow, okay. So what do we do now? And the answer to that is I have not got a clue. I've not used this 10 clue at the bottom at all, so there's got to be something in this column that adds up to 10. There's got to be something in this column that's not this square that adds up to 7. And there's got to be something here or here that adds up to 15. If this was 7, 8 and this was 4, that doesn't work. Golly, that's tricky. Okay, so if this was a 15 domino, so i.e. this cell was green, we just made that 7, 8, you can see this cell here now has to be a 4. And now, how are we going to make those two cells add up to 10? They can't be 7, 8. They can't be 3, 7, or 2, 8, or 4, 6, or 1, 9. Nothing will work. So, what that tells us is that this extends to here, which tells us this adds up to 15, this adds up to 14, so these two squares add up to 16, and we can do some magic. Therefore, that's 9, that's 7, that's not 7. 9 lives in one of those 3 cells by Sudoku. Oh, and that actually... Oh, that's huge. No, that is huge. That's mighty. It's mighty because now I can say with certainty that this cell is not grey. This is great. It's great setting because I can almost feel, you know, that the mind of Totally Normal Cat working around this cell. The fact, because I thought earlier about whether or not this 7 could indicate a 7 here. And I said, oh yes it can, because it wouldn't need to be a 2 by 2. But now you can see it would need to be. If I make this cell grey, I can't just put 7 into it, so I've got to extend it up, and that's creating a 2 by 2. So that's not possible. That's got to be green, and therefore that's got to be grey, and it's got to be at least a 2-cell sequence to add up to 10, so that's got to be grey. This can't be... oh, no, this can't be grey for the same reason this couldn't be. If that's grey, it can't write 7 into it, so I have to extend it, and that creates another 2 by 2 there. So that's green. But now, okay, now the pressure disappears. That could be a solitary 7 now, because obviously it doesn't see this digit. Right. Okay. So perhaps... So what do we do now? That's the question. If we... Is this possible to be... If that's grey, I can see both of those have to be grey to avoid a checkerboard. That doesn't give me a problem with the 13. I still haven't got a clue what's going on with this 13 on the left-hand side. Oh, yes, I have. Oh, Simon. Right. Okay, here is something I've missed. I've got obsessed with the idea that these 13 clues were the same. They are not the same. Because if they were the same, then however far this extends, it can't be more than a 4-cell sequence. And that would require everything on the left-hand side of the grid to be green, and that's going to create a 2 by 2 there. So that's wrong. So there needs to be a 13 clue on the left-hand side to stop this being a 2 by 2 of green. Therefore, there's at least a 2-cell sequence in here that adds up to 13, which requires this to be grey. And if that's grey, I've got to avoid a checkerboard, so that's got to be grey. Wow. Wow, okay. So now... Oh, good grief. Totally Normal Cat. This is just so... It's just brilliant. It's such a beautiful deduction because it works in 3 different ways. Right. Is this domino a domino that adds to 13? I.e., is this green? No, is the answer, because how would it add up to 13? 4, 9 is not an option. 6, 7 is not an option, and 5, 8 is not an option either. So that has to be grey. And now we know that we can't join these up, because that would mean that we'd had a 7-cell sequence adding to 13. Simply ridiculous. So that's green. Avoid a checkerboard. That's green. This green is connected to the perimeter, so I don't think we've got any connectivity issues. Oh, we do. No, we do here. This grey has to get out, so that's got to come through that little channel. And then avoid a 2 by 2. This green's going to have to get down here or go round the side here. Oh, wow. Oh, hang on. Yeah, okay, it's still okay, but that's a bit... It surprised me. I've got a 10 clue here, which is a 4-cell sequence. That's got to be 1, 2, 3, 4. That's not 2. Okay, do I know what that adds up to? No. Do I know they add up to 15. Oh, that's a 7. That's just a write-in 7 because of this clue now. So that gives us a 7 here. Oh, I see. So now I can do maths on row 5. I've got 13 plus 13, that's 26. Plus 16 is 42. That has to be a 3. That's absolutely useless. Okay. So, right, let's take stock. What clues have we used? We haven't used this 26. We haven't understood this 14. We've used the 15. We've used the 10. We've used the 12 all but. We've used the 7. We haven't done the 13 here. Is there more we can say about this? If that is 8, these two cells have to add up to 5 without using 3. So they'd have to be a 1-4 pair, which would be lovely. Make this a 2. If this is a 5, these add up to 8, and they're not 3, 5, or 1, 7, so they'd have to be 2, 6 in a very specific order. 6 here, 2 here. Actually, that's probably worth pencil marking those, isn't it? So we either had 1-4 as an option, or we had 2-6 with the 6 here. No, okay, maybe it wasn't worth writing in. Oh, although I've just noticed there's a 6 by Sudoku in this domino. So that means in the 15 sum, we've got a 6 and 3 cells that sum to 9 that are not therefore 1, 2, 6. So they're either 1, 3, 5 or 2, 3, 4. 1, 3, 5 or 2, 3, 4. Oh, so doesn't that mean there has to be an 8 in this 14? Is that the point? Yeah, given there's a 6 in this string of digits, there can't also be an 8 in this string of digits because they're only adding up to 15. We'd have to have the other 2 cells adding up to 1. So there is an 8 in this string of digits and we know where it must go. So that's 8, that's 4. These add up to 6 and they must be not 2, 4. So they've got to be 5, 1 in that order. So this is not a 1, which means that is not a 4. And these digits have got to be 2, 3, 4 and 6. And you can see these are not 6, right? This is not 2. This is not 3. Oh, so these have become, that's so weird. These have become a 4, 6 pair out of somewhere that I don't really understand. But that means these two squares are a 2, 3 pair. And that's quite interesting, look. We've got a 3 in this domino and a 3 in this domino. So how many 3s are we expecting there to be in row 7? Hopefully your answer to that is 1, 3. How many 3s are you expecting in row 8? 1, 3. So there are 2 3s in these 2 rows, and I know there are 2 3s in those 2 dominoes. So I can't have any more 3s over here. Those are not 3s. And the 3... so the 3 in this column has to be in one of those 2 cells. Now, what next? Can I do... No, I was wondering if I could do something similar between... Is there a unique... No, I'm not sure. There might be something we can do more with these very low digit dominoes in boxes 7, 8 and 9. But I'm not sure how to do that. Okay, let's think about something else. Can we do more Sudoku in this box? We need 1, 2, 5 and 8. So there's definitely a 1 in those 2 cells, which means there's a 1 in one of these 3 cells. 2, 3, 6, 7. No, okay, sorry. I don't think I'm thinking about this very clearly now. I feel we're on the cusp of the whole thing just collapsing because we've got the approximate shape of everything. We've just got to figure out, how are we ever going to learn how this all works at the bottom? You know, how can I think about how this is all going to close up? There are no clues on the right hand side. It must be something to do with the 26 clue, mustn't it? That's going to tell me whether or not this needs to extend down or not. Or is it something to do with the fact this... Well, yeah, I can see that this green has to hit the perimeter, actually, on this side. Because if it didn't, all 3 of these cells, because this would have to be shaded to avoid a 2 by 2, we'd create a complete sequence there, and that sequence would have to add 26, which doesn't work, because you can't write 19 into that cell. So I do know that there is another green cell. Oh, I see. Is that maybe does it actually? It's weird. It's really weird because I can't go green down there. There must be a green in one of these cells, and therefore this in particular must be green. And therefore that cell there has to be grey, and that means that's green to avoid a checkerboard. To avoid a 2 by 2. This now becomes green to avoid a checkerboard, and that becomes grey to avoid a 2 by 2. That's weird, so clever. So the whole bottom left gets resolved by almost magic. Now these add up to 26, so these add up to 19. So that can't be a 3, because that would require these to be a 7-9 pair, and there's a 7 in the column. So that's a 3. Does that do something? Probably. Let's get rid of 3s here. Get rid of 3s here. Okay. And take another stare. I don't think we're miles away. Come on, let's see if we can finish it. We can say that. So these add up to 26. 19. Do we have to have a 9 down there? No, we can't use 7. We could have 5, 6, 8, I think. Don't see what's wrong with that. I think that's possible. Maybe it's Sudoku. That would be the most typical thing that I would be underdoing, wouldn't it? So maybe that's what we've got to do. Because I'm not seeing it. I've done the Yin Yang part now, and I've used most of the clues of the Yin Yang, I think. He says, oh, that one's still undone. Can I do this now? If this is 8, these add up to, they'd have to be 1 here and a 4 here. If this is 5, these need to be adding up to 8, and they can't be 3, 5 or 1, 7, so they have to be 2, 6. I think both of those things are still possible, but I might be wrong. Right, so let's try and do other things. What could we say about the world? There must be a 4. No, that's not true. There could be a 4 here. Could be a 5 here. No, I can't say anything about that. Right. What is it that we're missing? Let's do some pencil marking in box number 2. 2, 3, 6 and 7. So these are not 6s. These are not 2s. Oh, this is not a 6. Oh, I see. I can place 6 in box 2. Does that do something for me? That means that cell's not a 3. Oh, or a 7. That's okay. That's a 2 out of nowhere. Right, so it is Sudoku, I think. Now this becomes a 3-7 pair. Is that doing something? Possibly. Possibly. I can't see how to resolve this 3-7, but it might be doable. Okay, let's check the rest of this column then. We need 1, 5, 8 and 9. So that square is just 5 or 8. 1, 5, 8, 9. This square is not 8 because of this. There's got to be a 9 down here. That might be worth keeping track of. Doesn't seem to release all the tension, does it? So there's something else I think we're going to have to spot. It doesn't matter that I know these add up to 38. So I don't think it's going to be that. I don't have a clue for this row. Some of you will be saying he doesn't have a clue for the puzzle. Okay, well let's have a look at column 3. We need 5, 7, 8 and 9. So that square is just 7 or 8. That square is just 7 or 9. That square is just 5 or 8. Oh, there's a 5-8 pair here. And this square is 5 or 9. And that is somehow resisting. Okay, maybe it's this 5-8 pair then. We need this square to be a 2 or a 3 only. Oh, that's it. Yeah, look. Here we go. Right, let's do Sudoku on row 4. I've got 2, 3, 4, triple. Now, this square can't be 3. Oh, hang on. When I looked at that before, I thought that couldn't be 2 either. Why did I think that? No, it can't be 4. Okay, it sees 3 in the box and 4 in this pair. So it is 2, which means this is 1. And if that's 1, we know those two add up to 12, which means we know the order. So this is 8, this is 4, this is 6, which means this is 5. Therefore, this is 5, and this is 8 by Sudoku. So this is 8. That's 7, that's 9, that's 5. Good grief. Okay, so suddenly we're cooking with gas again. Now the 7 and the 3 get resolved in box 2. Those two squares have got to be 4 and 8. It might not be resolved yet. These two squares are not 9. They are 1 and something. 1 and 3. Which is resolved by this. So that's 3, that's 1. And presumably now we can get rid of 5 from these squares. So we've got a 1, 8, 9 pair down here, which means those are a 4, 5 pair, and there's a 5 here. So this has got to be 5, that's got to be 4, that's 2 now. We've got a 4, 7 pair here. In the bottom row, we just need 1s, 6s, and 9s. That seems to be able to be anything. But remember, we knew the total of these. They had to be 19, so that's not 1, which means the only place for a 1 in the bottom row is here. I've now got an 8, 9 pair in box thingy thing. Box 8. Can I do this if... Oh, that square's a 2 by Sudoku. Oh, that's nice. So I've got a 1, 4 pair here, and this is a 3. That's a 3, that's a 4. So I need a 1, 9 pair here, which is resolved. 1 and 9 go in. That 9 doesn't see the 6, 9 though. That's a 4 by Sudoku, which means that's 4 and that's 8. These two squares are a 5, 6 pair. Also somehow not resolved. Oh, but... Oh, look, yeah, okay, look at this column. The 8 and the 9 in this column are down here somewhere, and we know those 3 digits add up to 19, so it's got to be 8, 9 and 2, which means that's a 9. So that's a 6. This has got to be a 2, 8 pair, which I sort of feel is probably resolved, but I can't see how. But that does give me the 5 here, the 5 here, the 6 here. and the 2 here. And those 2 squares have got to be 6 and 7, and there's a 6 here. So that's 6, that's 7, that's 7, that's 4, 4, 1, 1, 3, 3, 2, 2, 8, 8, 9, 9, 5. Whoa, that came together quickly at the end. Is that right? I'm going to click tick. Yay! What a brilliant puzzle. Black rose, is that what we've created here? Oh, is this some sort of botanic reference, is it? Is that meant to be a sort of black spiny bush coming out of the green, I don't know, the green something, sludge? It could be. It could be, but as ever, it's just, I mean, this is the sort of puzzle, I think, that it's a rule set to die for, and it's executed so cleverly. You could do other puzzles like this. They probably wouldn't be as good, but it's just the way it flowed and the way you could think about it. I loved it from start to finish. It's a brilliant puzzle, absolutely brilliant. Again, TNC, and just about, no, approachable is the wrong word. That's not. It's sort of, if you have a little bit of history with Yin Yang, and if you had your Sudoku boots on, you could get it done. You could probably get it done in 40 minutes, maybe. But otherwise, you need a stiff gin and tonic. Anyway, thank you for watching. Thank you. Oh, no, this video is too long, isn't it? It's too long for me to go back and do Florian. So I will do Florian's in a separate video. And apologies again for that hiccup yesterday. Hiccup, snafu, boo-boo, I don't know what you want to call it, but mea culpa. See you later on Cracking the Cryptic.